Welcome back to the TSV Sports Show. I'm your host, Jasper Lindsay. As always, I'm joined by Steven Risotto, Armand Archignani, Marco Milani. Got a packed show today, talking some NBA, talking some college hoops. We got March Madness right around the corner. But first, we're starting with skating on thin ice. Marco, take it away.
Well, thank you, Jasper. So I have three games to tell you about. So they were on a three-game winning streak, the Sharks. They won game one against the Ducks, 6-0, and then they won game two, 4-1 against the Ducks. But unfortunately, they played Vegas Monday, and they lost 2-1. Big sad. Goals for the Golden Knights were, of course, former Canadians captain Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone, the defenseman, and then the only goal for the Sharks was unfortunately Timo Meier. This is as good as the team has looked, though, the past couple of weeks. They got back Tomas Hertl and Timo Meier from injury and COVID-19 protocols, respectively. And actually, I don't know if this is true, but Vegas actually had some fans in the stands for that game. I believe it was going to be I think I saw something on Twitter. It was like about 5 to 8,000 fans in the stand. So that's obviously a sign of a step up for the COVID thing. So that's the first good thing. The other good thing is their faceoff percentage. They have been lacking in the faceoff percentage, but this is the first time I've actually seen them lead in the faceoff percentage. They had 52%. They went 0 for 1 on the power play. They had 6 penalty minutes. None of those were actually from. Oh, excuse me. Only 2 of those were from Evander Kane. He hasn't been getting himself into that much trouble lately, but this is the first time that he's been. Excuse me. This is the first time he's actually been upwards on the penalty sheet. But other than that, this is the best they've looked so far, and they're playing again on Wednesday. So that is skating on thin ice. Also, the Brier ended. Team Canada did not win. However, it was a battle of 2 Alberta teams, and obviously Alberta won. So then Team Alberta will be representing Team Canada next year. And that is skating on thin ice and sheets of marble ice, because that's what curling uses.
Oh, yeah. Marco, I actually do have a hockey question for you. How long is it until we see a Canadian team retake the cup?
Great question. Let me take a look at the standings, because the North Division is being heavily hyped for its good games. And by the way, while I'm looking at those stats, prayers up to Islanders forward Anders Lee, who will be missing the rest of the season on a long-term IR with a lower body injury. I know Jasper is a big fan of the Islanders, and he really likes Matt. What is it? Do you like Matt Barzal? Is that your favorite player, or is it? Yeah, Matt Barzal.
Human being.
Who is it?
Barzal, an upstanding human being.
Yeah. So prayers up to them, and yeah. Also, some sad news out of hockey this morning. A Russian 19-year-old Russian hockey player took a puck to the face the other day, and he had life-threatening injuries. Unfortunately, he died this morning. He was only 19 years old, playing in the second-tier Russian hockey league, the MHL. So prayers up to his family as well. So it's really sad. I mean, you'll think it never happens, but it does. It can always happen. You just never know. Anyway, so back to, on a lighter note, to the Canadian teams. The current leader in the division in the Canadian division is Toronto. However, there was some news this morning that they could be giving up a top prospect to revamp their forwards for the playoff run. So the Leafs may be making a playoff run with former Shark Joe Thornton, who's playing on the first line. Sticking 40-some years old, he's playing on the first line. Good for you, Jumbo. So yeah, teams to watch. I would say in the Canadian division: Toronto, Edmonton, of course, with Connor McDavid, Montreal, and then Winnipeg. The bottom 3 teams: Calgary, Vancouver, and Ottawa. Maybe we'll see what happens though as the season goes on.
Thanks, Marco. Always a pleasure to hear you talk ice. All right, switching gears to the NBA. The Warriors still don't have an identity. They go from beating the best team in the West by 12 to losing by 31 last night. Armand, what do they need to do to turn it around?
It's always been the problem this season with consistency, I think, and it showed yesterday that we're nowhere near a championship team as of right now. Going into next season, I think the Warriors should still try to get a playoff spot this season just to get these younger guys some more experience going into the playoffs and getting Clay back next year healthy. And I think that's probably one of the best scenario for them, get into one of those playoff spots and see what they can do in the playoffs. But yeah, back to what you were saying yesterday was just atrocious. No defense. Lakers shot about like 62%, I think, and the Warriors shot about like 40, 41, 42%. It's just not good enough. And another game where we slip away going into the second quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. But we do have the trade deadline coming up. The Warriors are supposed to be big players. Do you think Oubre gets traded?
It's a tough decision to make, but I think if you were to trade one of them, it might be Oubre or Wiggins, depending on who Bob Myers really likes. I think you can get some good trade value out of both of them. They're still pretty young, got a lot to show for them, but I think as of right now, they're going to try to take some calls and see what they can get, but I don't think they'll panic over any trades.
Yeah. Sticking on Wiggins, do you think he can take another step next year, or is he just the player he's going to be the rest of his career? Because we obviously saw him in Minnesota, not great, couldn't really mesh with Cat. Here we've seen strides. He's still just showing flashes, though. Do you think we can get a consistent Andrew Wiggins heading forward?
I think when you put him up with Curry and Clay, I think he'll reach his max potential. Like we saw against the Jazz, he had 31 points. I think like you said, there's flashes with him, but whenever he gets to play with the second unit, there isn't as much space for him to take shots. And when he does take shots, they're tough shots to take with the second unit. But if he plays to the full potential, I think it's with Clay and Curry.
Absolutely. All right, sticking with the hard four, college hoops. It is March, boys. Had the conference championship last week. Armand, what were your biggest takeaways?
One of my biggest takeaways last weekend was LSU. I fell in love with LSU last weekend, and I see them being one of my upset teams going into. I know they're number 8 seed, but I think they're still underlooked because of how good of a football team they have at LSU. But I think they're a good team. I like Lang. I like Javonte Smart and the power forward number 2. I really like them. I think they're a good team, and they might cause some damage. Going against St. Bonaventure, that's a good matchup. I think they won their conference too, so I think they can make some noise going into the next round.
Absolutely. You know who I really like this weekend? Texas. Jericho Sims is a problem. Marco, what do you think their ceiling is in the tournament?
What seed are they? Remind me.
I think they're 5, if I can remember correctly.
And remind me again who they are facing.
Well, let's check it out.
They're playing against Michigan State or UCLA. They're in the number 3 seed.
Okay, so this is actually one of the teams that I would be picking for an upset, depending on who wins. So, not to spoil anything here, but there could definitely be an upset. However, I would not if Texas goes forward. I could see him potentially going into at least the 16.
Yeah, I mean, see, I'm kind of in the opposite ring here because I see a team like Texas and even just the Big Ten teams. They played in such competitive divisions this year that I think by the time it comes tournament, they're just going to roll through whoever. I mean, the ACC looks good, but all these other divisions, I just don't think they have what it takes to compete against these teams who have been playing against high-flying offenses and pretty good defenses all year. I don't know. I mean, the other huge storyline I saw in the conference tournament, though, Georgetown. Armand, do you think they can make some noise in the tournament?
It's tough to say because, the conference championships are a little tricky. You don't know what you're going to get because some of the higher seeds are they're in March Madness. They're not playing for as much, but it is a conference championship at the end of the day. I think they could make some noise. Georgetown, they got Patrick Ewing there. They're playing against Florida or Colorado, which is a tough team, but if they make it, the next round will be either I think it's Florida or Greensboro, which is going to be a tough matchup. But I think if they could get past that first round, they'll have a lot of momentum going into the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, this might be a stepping stone for Patrick Ewing to start getting some better recruits. Obviously, he lost Matt McClung to Texas Tech. That was huge. He is balling out this year. But he has Dikembe Mutombo's son coming in. But I really just don't think Ewing can rely on getting his buddies' kids to keep playing for him. He needs to build this program up because obviously he bought himself another year by winning that conference title. But if he takes a step back next year, I mean, Georgetown, they're one of those teams where they're close to a blue blood. They're a top tier team. I mean, obviously Thompson, legendary coach, Allen Iverson, the face of the program. But I mean, they just have really struggled to find their footing in the Ewing era. Yeah. All right. Switching gears, return to the diamond. Major League Baseball continues to drop the ball. Steve's here with their latest conundrum.
Yeah, so we're going to see a few rule changes be implemented in the minor leagues. And look, I understand that the minor leagues is the place to do it. I agree with that. But I also think that baseball's in a place right now in terms of finances and in terms of viewership where you have to I don't have a problem with them testing anything out, but I think they're looking at all the wrong issues. Like for example, low A, robot umpires and pickoff limits. Robot umpires I'm fine with. I kind of know how they're going to work. I understand the whole, well, there's no human element if you take away umpires. There will still be a human element. It's just going to be a robot calling balls and strikes, which is completely fine. Pickoff limits is where I have a problem. I think that this is probably one of the more stupidest rules I've heard. I thought the 3 batter minimum was stupid. This one's dumb because if you pick off twice, you can't pick off again unless on the third time you get them. So you have to get them out on that third time. If you don't get them, it's a balk. So if you use 2 of your pickoff moves, the guy could literally go halfway to second base and you can't do anything about it because you can't throw over. So that's a stupid rule, in my opinion. Then you go up to double A, of course, and there's the defensive, or high A, I should say, the step off rule. Basically, pitchers are going to have to require to step off to throw to bases. That hurts mostly the left-handed pitcher throwing the first base, which, I mean, I don't really care. But here's the one that is going to get a lot of heads turned, defense positioning. So we've heard so much about the shift. I could go either way. I understand both arguments. I'm kind of a rare breed in that kind. I could see what, hitters are complaining about, how they lose hundreds of hits each year to the shift. I understand that. And I also understand people saying that, it's strategy and, in all the other sports, teams could set up their defense the way they want to. I understand that argument too. So they're trying to limit the shifts. They basically want to have nobody standing in the outfield. A minimum of 4 players on the infield. And again, they can't stand past the infield dirt. So that's interesting. Eventually, I could see it moving into, maybe only 2 guys per side of second base, which could be interesting. And then AAA, of course, is larger bases. They're going to increase bases from 15 inches to 18 inches. Honestly, this is going to be something that nobody even notices, in my opinion. It's going to be so unnoticeable. It's not going to increase stolen bases, which is what they want. Stolen bases is a mindset. So many guys in the big leagues could steal bases if they wanted to. Mike Trout is so quick, and he had 10 steals last year or 10 steals in 2019. So he could steal more bases. It's just that teams don't want to give away outs or don't want to risk the idea of giving away outs. So this is just kind of a very minimal move, but I think the defensive positioning and the pickoffs are kind of where I go wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the MLB, they're entering another dead ball era. I mean, you've seen pitchers have the advantage with reliance on getting the ball in the air and strikeout rates over the years. And I think the thing that's drawing the most viewers is these long home runs. Why would the MLB give the pitcher even more of an advantage, Steve?
Well, I I think the pitcher has an advantage for a few reasons. I think one, they're good. They're as good as we've ever seen pitchers. They're throwing as hard as they've ever thrown. And B, it's the offensive mindset. Like these hitters are realizing now that, if you take the Tony Gwynn approach and you go the other way and you hit singles, you're not going to get paid as good as if you hit, maybe 230 with 45 big ones. So chicks dig the long ball. That's the famous saying, of course. I mean, and with the shift, it kind of correlates. They go hand in hand. Hitters want to hit through the shift, not against the shift, because if you hit against the shift, it's probably going to be a single, or that's why you see no bunts against the shift. So, I mean, it's all about mindset, and they have the mindset that, hey, I'll hit a home run, but it might, bring some strikeouts to go along with it. That's the trade-off that they've accepted at this point. But one thing that Barry Bonds said that I'll leave off on this: you never see a 300 hitter get released. Never see a 300 hitter get released.
It's very true. All right. Now on to the big news of the day. We have the NFL offseason in full swing. Moves back and forth. Bill Belichick bringing out the pocketbook, dropping some green on some free agents. Are the Patriots back, Marco?
All right. I don't know. I don't know if they're back really yet. They got Cam Newton back at quarterback. And I mean, he's mobile and he can throw moderately, but I don't think they're back. Also, you spend money on two tight ends, Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, when you have two perfectly good tight ends on the roster in Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene, who you wasted 2 third-round picks for. So why spend the money there when you can spend the money on the old line, which needs more help? Look at who just got released just now, Rodney Hudson. Look who they had on the market before the Chargers poached him, Corey Linsley. Trent Williams is still on the market. However, I do have some news on that a little later. There are a lot of O-linemen on the market that you can spend money on that you could pay that much money for. So I don't get that move. I just don't. So if they're back, they better be proving something with that 2 tight end set, because if not, it's just going to be a waste of money. I don't know what they're doing. They're spending all this money when they might not even get close to that divisional title.
I think you just broke the cardinal rule of football in doubting Bill Belichick.
Maybe.
That's a move. Wow. As for the Patriots, though, I think the O-line is going to be fine. Obviously, they stole Trent Brown from the Raiders, and he's going to do well under Belichick. And they're getting Cannon back. So the thing we forget about the Patriots is they had the most opt-outs in the league last year when it came to COVID-19. They are getting a stud in Donta Hightower back. They're getting a raw safety in Patrick Chung back, and as well as just several other offensive linemen. I think Bill Belichick is going to work wonders with this 2 tight end set. I think that's why you saw him grab Aguilar and Bourne. They are complementing their tight end. Their tight ends are going to be the focus of their offense, whether it's blocking for Cam or taking shots downfield. I think they're going to be able to fake so much on the defense that it will be a problem. Armand, who won the first day of NFL free agency in your opinion?
The first day is most likely one of the toughest days in free agency. I think you see a lot of free agents get a lot of money, and Kenny Galladay hasn't been signed yet. A lot of these guys haven't been signed yet to see the markets that's going on this year. I think Patriots, they're definitely a winner in my book yesterday. I think the Niners won yesterday. I think the Bengals are winning. They got Mike Hilton today, and the lineman from Trey Hendrickson from the Saints. I think they did really good with that. So I think the Bengals are looking in the right direction. Jaguars also signed Shaquille Griffin this morning. I think that was a good signing too. So far there's a lot of good signings that are going on throughout the first 2 days.
Absolutely. I think another team that kind of went under the radar but had a really good first day was Tennessee in signing Bud Dupree. That is a team that struggled mightily on third down. third down was basically a guaranteed first down when you were against the Titans last year. And I think trying to compete with Baltimore and the Steelers, that is a huge signing. Steelers fans, sorry, things aren't looking great. But I think, the Titans are going to be legit next year. All right, getting into Marco's mock of the week. Marco, give it to us.
All righty. So if you have been watching the sports news for the past few weeks, you know that the Saints just released a couple tight ends in Josh Hill and Jared Cook. So they need a replacement. Do they draft Kyle Pitts? Maybe. Do they stick with Adam Troutman? Also, maybe. He was okay. Maybe he can fit into that system. But my mock of the week is for Zach Ertz. I'm saying Zach Ertz goes to the Saints, and the Eagles in return get back a 2021 6th-round pick, or something just a bit higher, maybe in the second to fifth range, day 2 to like early day 3. And I think Ertz would fit well in that system. They just re-signed Jameis Winston. They have Taysom Hill. They can definitely use a good veteran tight end like Ertz, who's obviously proven himself that he's up there in the upper echelon of tight ends in the NFL. So to sum up, Ertz goes to the Saints, and the Eagles get a second or day 2 to early day 3 pick.
I love this trade, Marco. I think this is honestly one of the best ones you've brought to us. I think Ertz would be a great fit in that offense, especially – I think we just have to get into how fun the Saints offense is going to be to watch next year. I honestly believe they'll run a 2-quarterback set with Winston and Hill. Hill proved he can make short throws, so he won't be stuck in the Wildcat all year. And Jameis Winston, I think we see a resurgence. I'm thinking 20 touchdowns, 10 INTs. I don't know, Armand. What do you think?
I actually really like this trade because Jared Cook got released, obviously. Josh Hill got released. Well, both the Saints tight ends got released. And I think Zach Ertz, it's a new change of scenery. And that's all an NFL player needs sometimes, just a change of scenery. I think this is a good trade. Zach Ertz is still pretty good. I like Jameis Winston too. I think he can come back with a bigger mindset that Sean Payton's his coach, and he'll change him up. So I think he'll definitely fit in with the offense.
Yeah, absolutely.
How big of a party do we throw when Marco finally gets one of these right? Like how awesome of a moment would that be?
Man, these are purely just predictions. I don't expect to get any of these right.
One of these days it's going to happen. You're going to make enough of them to where it's going to happen.
I say we'll get a nice mock cake. Ice cream cake, Marco, what's your favorite?
I don't care.
All right, perfect. Ice cream cake it is. All right. 60-second rants, everyone's favorite part of the show. We're going to pass it over to Steve first. Steve, you're on the clock, buddy.
Yes. So quick shout out to Drew Brees. This guy he's retiring. He's joining the NBC broadcast team. Had a heck of a career. He's the leader in career pass completions. I think he even did that, or he even has that record still at the Big Ten. So he's a legend, one of the top quarterbacks of all time. Never a flashy name, but always went out and did his thing. Russell Wilson even said that he's one of the best he's one of his idols. So Russell Wilson's idol, Joe Burrow's idol, Drew Brees. Congrats on a great career. Also, Miles Masterboni, I wrote about him in the Skyline View. He survived the Rays' first round of cuts. Wander Franco got cut in the first round, but Miles Masterboni did not. Miles Masterboni is better than Wander Franco. Now you know. I'm just kidding. No, and also last thing, great to see college and high school athletics getting back to work in California. Good to see.
Great stuff, Steve. On the dot.
Yes.
All right, Armand, let's hear it.
Today I'm going to be talking about one of my most hated teams in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks. Don't you just love when Seattle doesn't make any moves in free agency so far? I mean, look at that defense. That defense is almost one of the worst defenses in the league. They got rid of their best corner last year, Shaquille Griffin. Now he went to Jacksonville. Perfect, out of the NFC. Now all they have is Bobby Wagner, and slowly he's given up the best 54 to Fred Warner in San Francisco. So I think what Seattle needs to do is probably give Russell Wilson a couple of weapons, which they haven't done in a while. So I think one of the biggest re-signing things is probably getting KJ Wright back. And I've heard they've been trying to get him back, but he wants to move on, it looks like. And Trent Williams, they've had a couple nice talks with him, but that's really cute because he's coming back to SF.
Great stuff, Armand. We love the Russell Wilson slander. All right, Marco, you're up, bud.
I'm going to use my 60 seconds to update you on some recent moves. So first of all, something just breaking right now. Leonard Williams is back with the Giants on a 3-year, $63 million deal. Big upgrade or big move for the Giants defense as they can get somebody who can keep Daniel Jones a bit relaxed a bit before he comes back out on the field. But Armand was talking about Trent Williams, and there is some news that broke this morning. There is an offer on the table for him. 4 years, $80 million, exactly where they want him. That $20 million a year salary. However, there are some reports that are saying that they may not have him for that much. They may have to go up a couple. There was one 49ers writer, 49ers Twitter account, Sterling Bennett, that says 5 years, 110 might be the move because that's a $22 million thing. So they should resign Trent Williams. There we go.
And that's probably one of the coldest takes I've ever heard. I mean, Trent Williams being a Niner, that is just, it's free money. Let's go. Come on. All right. Today I am talking the Rockies' failure as an organization. I know this is something Steve has wanted me to get into for a while and finally admit. We suck. We are horrible. Rob Manfred, horrible job. Bridrich, horrible GM. I hate this guy. I'm sorry. O'Dowd literally resigned and we replaced him with Bridrich. He gives Nolan Arenado a $200+ million contract with an opt-out he added. Nolan didn't want to leave. Nolan wanted to stay in Colorado. We added the opt-out. We gave Ian Desmond so much money. We tried to steal an aging Royals bullpen. And we just surrounded our stars with horrible players. And it's utterly ridiculous. And now we need to rebuild. It's time to get rid of Marquez. It's time to get rid of Trevor Story. And it's time for us Rocky fans to just accept that we will be an abysmal team forever. The Dodgers and San Diego have super teams. The Giants and Arizona are building towards something. We are in purgatory, as we have been for the last decade. Got a little fired up
I applaud you for your emotion outburst.
Before we end, can I update you on one more move?
Absolutely.
I was just talking about Daniel Jones in my 60-second rant. Now he has a speedy weapon. John Ross, the former Bengals receiver, just got signed to a small deal. Good for the Giants getting Daniel Jones, a very speedy weapon. Of course, John Ross known for running a 4.2 in the combine when he was drafted. So good for New York.
God, baseball free agency sucks.
Right?
God.
But okay, if we're being honest, Steve, there's not enough tampering in the MLB for anything to really happen. The NFL,
no, there's not.
They're literally out here trying to sign free agents the second these seasons over.
Well, it's like NFL and NBA. It's like done in like 3 days.
Yeah, right. I mean, there's so much tampering, and the MLB, everyone wants to wait it out. And I think that honestly comes down to the money, if anything. Everyone wants to see if they can get the biggest contract. But the NFL, nothing's guaranteed. So the second you see a nice offer, you got to grab it. All right. Well, that's our show, guys. As always, thank you for joining in, and we'll see you next week on the TSV Sports Show.